We're going to the movies. That's right, you've heard correctly. We're going to the theater with the producer of the latest version of God's Not Dead, In God We Trust. Now, here's the thumbnail version as described by the producers of the film, God's Not Dead, In God We Trust. It follows Reverend David Hill as he runs for Congress following the sudden death of an incumbent. His powerful adversary wants religion removed from any form of governance. The movie offers a truly compelling call for audiences to make their voices heard through voting, and sometimes we're called out of our comfort zone to serve others or maybe serve the community. Pastor Dave's fight becomes a beacon of hope and optimism for people who are seeking moral leadership in a very divided world. God's Not Dead is a franchise, and you may have also seen or heard of Do You Believe and The Case for Christ, some of the other pictures by Pure Flix. Michael Scott lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's where he's joining us from. Michael, it's great to have you here, and I want to ask you, do me a favor. Now, Michael, I've run for president. I've served as a governor several terms. I've been doing this TV thing for quite a while, but I got to ask you, how did I do in this movie?
That's the question I think America wants to see as well. We talk about a lot of the other actors in it, but you were the pinnacle. I think it came together right there at that moment. It was a perfect segment that you kind of gave in there, and it was natural because a politician coming on your show in the movie, it just fit in perfectly, and I thought your performance was outstanding.
Well, I'm working on my Oscar acceptance speech. I know it's coming. I just feel it. But I got to tell you, it was a delightful experience to work with all of your crew and, of course, with David White, and just a terrific film. And I want to be very clear, and I'm not saying it just because I'm in it. I probably would say it just because I'm in it, but this is really the truth. I think the content of this film, it is so incredibly timely, and I just beg people to go see this movie, especially because it's coming out right around, as people are focusing on the election. And it's not a partisan movie. It doesn't tell you how to vote. But Michael, the big takeaway from this, 40 million Christians don't vote. They could change every election in America. That's disturbing to hear that.
I was shocked when I learned that statistic. I didn't know that either. And of those 40 million, 15 million aren't even registered to vote. So I always say, we want to see our beliefs and what we believe and what we stand for represented in our country, and our country to go back what it was founded on. Well, then we got to change that. We as Christians got to take our voice or take our vote to the polls and vote for the candidates that represent our values, or otherwise we should not be complaining that our nation is changing or it's going downhill or we're losing our rights because we let it happen. And so I think this movie is a rally cry for that. It's wrapped with entertainment, but it's got a message on the importance of all of this and why God should be at the center of our nation and in the public square.
The economy is uncertain. You never know whether your money's worth as much today as it was yesterday. It's one of the reasons I buy gold from American Hartford Gold. American Hartford Gold has earned a 5-star rating and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau. Be sure to tell them Mike Huckabee sent you. They'll give you up to $15,000 of free silver on your first qualifying order. Call 844-417-1010 or text Mike to 998899. You'll be glad you did business with American Hartford Gold. I was thoroughly impressed with the writing of the film. I thought it was an incredibly brilliantly written script, and it has a lot of what I would call edge-of-your-seat twists and turns, things you don't expect. So it's not as predictable as sometimes people would imagine maybe a faith-based film to be, which is one of the reasons I thought it was so compelling. But I also, maybe it's because in some ways it sort of mirrored my own life. Being a pastor, getting into politics, running for office, and experiencing what the political world is all about. And I told David R. White and Scott Baio, who were on my weekend show a few weeks back, I said, guys, I don't know who consulted on this film, not sure where all the information came from for the writers, but it was dead on accurate in depicting the role of a political consultant and the really dark nature of how politics works. So, Michael, peel the curtain back a little bit. How did you get to, I guess, the information that really does reveal some things about the political kingdom that I think viewers are going to say, wow, it's really like that? And I would tell them it really is like that.
Well, and I think that there's this constant thing in politics, what do you stand for? And we don't want you to stand for it too much, just enough to be there, but not to be there.
Yes.
And so there's this constant, I think, thing where it's like, we want you in, but not out. And you'll see that in the thing and in the political consultants say, don't talk about God. Don't talk about this. We got to appeal to this group or that group. And I think what happens in our political system is you get this kind of just situation where you don't stand for anything. And the character in this movie has to make a decision, decide, what do I stand for? Are my beliefs going to guide me? Is it spiritual leadership in Washington that's needed? And ultimately, that's what he goes for. And you get to see that play out. And I think we really looked at what happened in the past elections. We even looked at what happened with you, and we saw how you lived through the election and everything like that. And so we got political consultants, we got different people, we did internet research to really find out what is it like to be into the underbelly of this look like. And that's how you get it. And I will say that I wish everything was research. I think God had a hand in this too, because you're making these movies a year before they even come out to the theater. So you got to really think what could be coming. And so we put in the subject matter that we thought would best fit. And it was just a timely message that fit at this moment, I think, and for God had it for such a time as this.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm just blown away that the film, I know that there were a lot of challenges with the writer's strike. There was the coming out of COVID and all these things that kept delaying it. But I have to believe it was providential, because coming out when it is, it could not be more appropriate, because the message is so very clear. Now, this is the fifth in the series of God's Not Dead. When you started the franchise, and the first one with Kevin Sorbo, which was great, did you ever envision that there would be a whole series of these? Was that part of the plan, or has it happened organically because the response of the audience has been so good?
When we made the first one, I remember getting ready for opening weekend. I was just on my hands and knees saying, Lord, please bless this film. Let us get back our money. And it went on to do 60 million. God only knew how he was going to use that film to change it. But that really led us into saying people are hungry to learn about God. Does he exist? Then we explored number two. Is Jesus man, myth, or Messiah? And we really talked about in the dynamics of a teacher that's challenged whether or not she can talk about Jesus in the classroom. And then we went on in 3 and 4, where it got a little bit more political, talked about freedom of speech and, what is our freedoms there? And this last one really deals with God in the public square. And so they've been a natural evolution. We want people to come to the theater. We want them to be entertained, but we want them to take away a key message and a point that they can act on in terms of take action. And I believe that the take action message from this one is, we want to hear your voice. We want to hear your vote. Go out and vote. We can take back our nation, and it can truly turn around for God.
Well, a great film is great storytelling. This is great storytelling, and the characters are well developed. That it has intrigue. It's a great cast that you've put together. I just absolutely want to make sure people will go and see the film. Yep. We're going to take a short break. This gives our viewers a chance to find out more information about where the movie's going to be playing, where to see it, because it's hitting the theaters right now.